What if the future was not a mystery, but a script, a grand and terrible play written a century ago by a man branded by the press as the most wicked in the world? What if the relentless chaos, the seismic shifts in human thought, and the profound spiritual yearning of our 21st century were not mere accidents of history, but the deliberate, calculated unfolding of a cosmic plan? Welcome, soul traveler, to the enigmatic and deeply shadowed world of Aleister Crowley. Was he a prophet who communed with trans-dimensional intelligence, a conduit for a cosmic will? Or was he a master manipulator, a charlatan of the highest order, weaving a myth so powerful it would shape a future he would never see? Today, we pull back the veil, not just to look, but to truly see. We journey into the cryptographic heart of his most controversial work, the Book of the Law, to uncover the hidden prophecies that appear to be sculpting the very fabric of our modern world. This is not just a story of a man. It is the exploration of a blueprint, a secret architecture for humanity's evolution, or perhaps its spiritual enslavement. Prepare yourself, for the truth of Crowley's vision is more potent, more immediate, and more relevant now than ever before. Together, we shall decode his prophecies. We shall weigh his words against our reality, and we will dare to ask the ultimate question: are we unknowingly living inside the future he designed? To comprehend the prophecy, we must first confront the prophet. To understand the message, we must walk in the shadow of the messenger. Born in 1875, Edward Alexander Crowley entered a world of suffocating piety. His family, members of the exclusive Plymouth Brethren sect, lived by a code of austere, unyielding Christian fundamentalism. This was Victorian England, an empire of iron and steam, but also an empire of the spirit, governed by repression, hidden desires, and the ever-present fear of a wrathful God. Crowley's entire existence became a declaration of war against this reality. He was a born rebel, a prodigy of intellect and spirit trapped in a cage of dogma. His life was a methodical and often shocking demolition of every value his parents held sacred. He was a world-class mountaineer who stared into the abyss from the peaks of the Himalayas, a master chess player who saw life as a grand strategic game, a celebrated poet whose verses dripped with sensual and His journey led him to the inner sanctum of the most prestigious esoteric society of his time, the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn. There, among the elite of London's occult scene, he absorbed the ancient wisdom of the Kabbalah, alchemy, and ritual magic. But even this was not enough. The Golden Dawn, with its rigid hierarchies, and what he saw as its bourgeois moralizing, was just another cage. Crowley was not seeking to be a student of the mysteries. He was destined to become a source. And then came the turning point, the event that would cleave his life in two, and arguably the history of Western occultism. It happened in Cairo in the spring of 1904. While on honeymoon with his wife, Rose Kelly, a series of bizarre events unfolded. Rose, who had previously shown no interest in the occult, began entering trance states, repeating a single message: "They are waiting for you." The entity waiting, she claimed, was the Egyptian god Horus. Crowley, ever the skeptic, was unconvinced. He subjected Rose to a rigorous cross-examination, testing her knowledge of Egyptology far beyond her education. Yet, she led him unerringly through the Cairo Museum, to a specific funerary stele, that of the priest Ankh F. Ankonsu. Its exhibition number was 666. For Crowley, a man who had long identified with the beast of Revelation as a symbol of ultimate rebellion, this was a sign he could not ignore. Following the instructions received through Rose, on 3 successive days, at noon on April 8th, 9th, and 10th, Crowley entered his chamber and wrote. He described himself not as an author, but as a scribe, a passive receiver for a voice that identified itself as Awas, the minister of Horus. The voice was clear, imperious, and utterly inhuman. For 1 hour each day, it dictated. The result was the 3 short chapters of Liber Alvel Legis, the Book of the Law. This book was dynamite. It proclaimed the violent end of an age, the death of the old gods, and the dawn of a new Aeon for humanity. The Aeon of Horus. It delivered a new law for this dawning age, a phrase that would echo through the coming century, becoming a banner for liberation for some, and a symbol of depravity for others. Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. But as the 20th century burned its path through history and bled into the 21st, its cryptic passages began to resonate with an eerie and deeply unsettling prescience. Let us now examine the core prophecies, the pillars of Crowley's secret and audacious plan for our time. The very first declaration of the Book of the Law is one of finality, of an ending. It proclaims the termination of the Aeon of Osiris, the age of the dying and resurrected God. This was the era that had dominated human consciousness for 2 millennia, the age of patriarchal, monotheistic religions. It was a time governed by faith in an external deity, by dogma handed down from on high, by the virtues of sacrifice, guilt, and submission to a singular, all-powerful authority. Awas proclaimed that this cycle was over. The spiritual structures that had defined civilization, the churches, the temples, the mosques, and the very belief systems they upheld, were now hollow shells. Their God was dead, or at least had withdrawn his influence from the world. Crowley prophesied a great cataclysmic unveiling. He foresaw an age where humanity, in a great tidal wave of self-awareness, would reject external saviors. Look at our world. Are we not living amidst the dust and ruins of this old Aeon? This is not a slow decline. It is a collapse. Trust in traditional religious institutions is at an all-time low. Science, the great engine of the modern world, has pushed the old gods to the very margins of society, while a new, intensely personal, and often eclectic spirituality is rising from the ashes. This is the great fragmentation of faith. People are no longer seeking salvation from a priest or a holy book, but from within themselves, from a yoga mat, from a meditation cushion, from a shamanic journey. This is the fulfillment of a prophecy. The book states, the hanged man is no more. This refers to the tarot archetype of the martyr, the sacrificial god figure of Osiris and Christ. In its place, a new archetype would arise, a new spiritual force. This leads us to the second and most crucial element of his plan. The Aeon of Horus, which Awas announced had begun in that fateful year of 1904, is the age of the individual. Its archetype is not the suffering father, nor the sacrificed son, but the crowned and conquering child, sovereign, divine, and fiercely independent. This is the prophecy of the rise of the God-man. The book's most famous declaration encapsulates this paradigm shift. Every man and every woman is a star. This is one of the most radical statements in religious history. It is not a call to egoism, as its critics claim, but a metaphysical declaration of inherent divinity. The secret plan for the 21st century is for humanity to awaken to the staggering fact that each individual is a unique center of the universe. Each person is a star with its own orbit, its own glorious purpose, and its own divine light. In this new aeon, there is no original sin to be washed away, no savior to be worshipped on bended knee. There is only the self, in all its majestic complexity, to be discovered, celebrated, and expressed. We see this prophecy unfolding in every corner of our culture. The explosion of the self-help movement, the obsession with self-discovery and self-actualization, the rejection of collective identities in favor of a curated personal truth. These are all hallmarks of the Aeon of Horus. Social media, for all its profound flaws, is a perfect expression of this principle. A digital stage where every individual can broadcast their reality, their truth, their life to the entire world. But the child God has a shadow. A child is playful, creative, and full of limitless potential. But a child is also inherently narcissistic, demanding, and capable of great cruelty if its will is thwarted. This duality explains the immense creative power of our age, but also its shallowness, its obsession with fame, and its terrifying capacity for self-destruction. The crowned and conquering child has been born, and it has been given a global network to play with, but it has not yet matured. Here we arrive at the heart of the prophecy and its most dangerously misunderstood command. The masses and Crowley's detractors have always interpreted as a simple license for hedonism, a call to do whatever you want without consequence. This is a profane and deliberate misreading. The law of Thelema is the central pillar of Crowley's plan for the New Age, and its true meaning is far more profound, far more difficult, and far more demanding. The key is the word will. In Thelemic philosophy, will with a capital W does not mean want, desire, or passing whim. It refers to one's true will, the unique purpose or destiny that is encoded within each star, within each individual soul. It is your ultimate reason for being, the singular path that is perfectly in tune with your nature and with the motion of the universe. To do what thou wilt is the ultimate spiritual imperative, to discover that unique purpose and to dedicate one's entire being to its fulfillment, bending every action, every thought, every breath towards it. It means to do nothing else. It is a call to absolute authenticity. Finding your true will is the hardest work a person can do. It requires ruthless self-examination, the stripping away of all conditioning, all false desires implanted by family, society, and culture. It demands that you confront your deepest fears and your most hidden potentials. In Crowley's system, the ultimate goal is to achieve the knowledge and conversation of the Holy Guardian Angel, a process of uniting the conscious self with one's own personal divine genius, which then reveals the true will. The secret plan for the 21st century is for humanity to transition from a society based on external laws, thou shalt not, to a civilization of beings guided by their own internal alignment. In this new aeon, the only sin is to go against your own true nature. As the book states, love is the law, love under will. This means that the driving force of the universe is the universal energy of love, but that this immense power must be directed and focused by the true will. Action without purpose is chaos, but action perfectly aligned with the true will is the purest and most powerful form of creation. This explains the deep spiritual confusion of our time. We have been freed from the old dogmas, but we have not yet discovered our true will. We are adrift in a sea of infinite choice, an ocean of information, and we feel a deep, gnawing sense of meaninglessness. Crowley's prophecy is that this period of confusion is a necessary, albeit painful, transition. It is the spiritual adolescence of humanity before it matures into a race of self-realized, self-governing stars. Within the cryptic verses of the Book of the Law, Crowley lays out another, more subtle prophecy, one that deals with the very energy that creates life, the force of sexuality. The old Aeon of Osiris saw this force as sinful, something to be repressed, controlled, and confined to the singular purpose of procreation. It was a source of guilt and shame. The Book of the Law shatters this. It presents the universe as a continuous act of love-making between two cosmic principles: Nuit, the infinitely expanded goddess of the night sky; pure potential, the ultimate feminine; and Hadit, the infinitely Their eternal, ecstatic union creates the manifested universe. The prophecy is that in the Aeon of Horus, humanity would reclaim the life force, the serpent power, Kundalini, as divine. The book declares the word of sin is restriction. This is a call to liberate the creative sexual energy from the guilt-imposed cages of the past. It foresees an age where the distinction between the sacred and the profane dissolves, and where sexuality can be explored not as a base animal function, but as a path to spiritual ecstasy and magical power. Look at the 21st century. We are living through a revolution in the understanding of gender and sexuality that would have been unthinkable 100 years ago. The breakdown of traditional gender roles, the exploration of all forms of sexual expression, and the rising interest in Eastern traditions like Tantra, which view sexual energy as a spiritual tool, are all direct manifestations of this prophecy. The serpent has been uncoiled. The life force is being liberated from its ancient prisons. Crowley never saw magic and science as enemies. In his view, they were two sides of the same coin of inquiry. He famously defined magic as the science and art of causing change to occur in conformity with will. This was not a retreat into superstition, but a call for a more advanced, more complete form of science. He prophesied an age where the rigid barrier between the material and the spiritual, the objective and the subjective, would completely dissolve. He envisioned a future where science, having reached the limits of its materialistic paradigm, would be forced to confront the central mystery of existence, consciousness. Is this not the exact world we are now entering? Quantum physics has utterly shattered the old clockwork, mechanistic view of the universe. It has presented us with a reality where the observer fundamentally influences the observed, where particles can be in two places at once, where consciousness may not be a random byproduct of matter, but is woven into the very fabric of reality. Theologians are discussing the holographic principle and simulation theory, ideas that posit our reality may be a projection or a code, ideas that echo the ancient Gnostic and Hermetic view of the universe as a mental construct. Neuroscientists are mapping the effects of deep meditation on the brain, while a new psychedelic renaissance is using substances like psilocybin, has powerful tools for empirically exploring the hidden continents of the mind. The fusion of science and spirituality is no longer a fringe idea. It is becoming the new frontier. Crowley's Magick was a call for a new technology of the self, a methodology for engineering consciousness and shaping reality from within. His work can be seen as a prophetic precursor to this grand synthesis, a unified science of existence that honors both the particle and the prayer, the equation and the ecstasy. So, we return to our question: what is the secret plan? It is a blueprint for a profound and extraordinarily dangerous transformation of the human species. It is a prophecy of the death of God as an external, judging father figure, and the birth of God within the heart of every man and every woman. It is a vision of a future where humanity, freed from the ancient chains of faith and fear, governs itself according to the unique internal law of its own true will. But this freedom comes with a terrible risk. The crowned and conquering child is a force of nature. Without wisdom, without balance, without love, its will can become a destructive, all-consuming fire. Crowley himself was a flawed and tragic vessel for this powerful message. His own life was a whirlwind of controversy, a testament to the dangers of unbalanced power and the seduction of the ego. The question then is not whether Crowley's prophecies are coming true. The evidence is etched into the headlines of our newspapers and the anxieties of our souls. The old world is dying, and a chaotic, powerful new one is struggling to be born. The real question is, what role do we play in it? Are we to be passive observers of this cosmic drama, swept along by the currents of change? Or are we to become the conscious architects of our own destiny within this new aeon? The final secret of Aleister Crowley's plan is that it is not about him. It is about you. It is a terrifying and exhilarating call to awaken, a call to stop looking for answers in the sky, in ancient books, or from self-proclaimed prophets, including Crowley himself. It is a call to look within, to undertake the great work of discovering the star that you are, and to find the divine courage to live your true will. For in the Aeon of Horus, there are no more saviors. There is only the self and the infinite, terrifying and glorious responsibility of being your own God. If this exploration of a hidden future resonated with your own quest for truth, share this video and subscribe to the channel to continue our journey together into the mysteries. Let us know in the comments, do you believe we are living in the age of Horus? And what does that mean for you? The path of knowledge is endless, and together we can dare to ask the questions that shape reality. Thank you for watching.